Hi guys, hope you're all doing well. Welcome back to our series of Azure Active Directory, and in this video we are going to talk about Openid Connect Authentication Flow with the help of a Fiddler Trace. Now if you're watching this series from the beginning, in the last video we have discussed about the theoretical part and the entire authentication flow, whereas in this video we are going to see everything in action with the help of a Fiddler Trace. So for this demo I have a sample application which is registered with Azure Active Directory, and I will be using that sample application to demonstrate how the Openid Connect authentication flow works. But before I go ahead and show you how exactly the sample application works, there are a couple of things which I would like to show you guys which are moreover related to endpoints. So if you guys remember, in the last video we were discussing about organizations, key value instead of common, as well as consumer. So this endpoint will be used when your application is targeting personal accounts, and this endpoint can be used when your application is targeting all the Azure AD accounts. Now there is one more thing which I would like to highlight here, and that is this organization keyword as a value and consumer as a value. They don't work with v1.0 endpoints. As you can see, if I try to remove v2.0, as we don't need this value for v1.0 endpoints, I will not get any result because this is only supported for v2.0 endpoints. Now let's come back to my machine where I have sample application, and from where I will be demonstrating the entire authentication flow. So this is my machine which has a sample application which is going to use Openid Connect as authentication protocol, and it is using MSAL libraries. The same machine also have Fiddler installed. Let's quickly clear the Fiddler so that we should have ample of information which we need to discuss. As of now, I am at the home page of my application and I'm going to click on sign in with Microsoft. The expected behavior is the first request will reach the authorized endpoint of Azure AD, and this request will have parameters like code and ID token. So if I go back to my Fiddler and if I'll click on this particular frame, as you can see, the response type is code and ID token. This is something which we have discussed in our previous video. Now, as you can see, the scope is also getting listed over here, but it has multiple values. Now, the reason behind it has multiple values because I am using all the values in the scope. But the question comes, what all can be the values that can be mentioned or that can be requested? For that, we'll go to a valid endpoint and then we'll check the scopes supported section, and as you can see, it has these four values. But there is one more thing which is there in my application and which is not here, and that is mail.read, this one. Now this is something which I have specifically mentioned so that I can show you guys how the consent prompt differs as you keep on adding different scopes. Okay, so now I'll come back to my browser, and since the first request has reached authorized endpoint, I'll click on my user object and then I will type in my password. The expected behavior is I should get a consent prompt. Now, once this consent is approved, only the ID token will be sent back to my application, because yet or till this moment application has not tried accessing any of the APIs that is protected by Azure AD. Now, this is the basic difference between OAuth 2.0 authorization code flow and Openid Connect flow, because in Openid Connect flow, the user's ID token is also validated. And this is something which I will be showing you with the help of Fiddler Trace. So as of now, as you can see, my application has received an ID token, which is moreover related to my user object with which I just tried sign in. But as you can see, there is no traffic going to graph.microsoft.com. That means still the application has not requested access token. Now the moment I will click on read mail and I'll come back to my Fiddler, what you will see, the application requesting an access token for itself, or the application will include the access token which it has received from token endpoint so that it can access the information that belongs to graph.microsoft.com. And in order to check that value, you can simply click on this particular request, which has reached graph.microsoft.com. And as you can see, it has the access token, which is used by the application. Now, the question comes how I know that this is the access token, because this is something which will be intended for the application. Now let's spend some time in understanding what's exactly happening with this particular Fiddler trace. This is the first request which my application has initiated, and this has landed to the authorized endpoint of Azure AD, where the response type code and ID token was mentioned and the valid scopes were mentioned. Till here, my user account was verified with the help of username and password, and here I got the consent prompt. The moment I approved this consent, now an ID token is sent back to my application, which is this one. Now, if I copy this value and if I go to one of my browser where we can check all this information with the help of a decoder, which is jwt.io, I would like you to check the difference between the ID token and the access token. The ID token is going to contain the claims which are moreover related to users, whereas the access token is going to contain the claims which are moreover related to the application. I'll copy this value in Notepad so that I can show you the comparison as well. So as of now, we have decoded the ID token. I'll come back to my application and now we'll check for access token. Now, since we know that as per the protocol flow, the access token will be given to the application by the token endpoint. So we'll go to the token endpoint. And as you can see in this particular request, the code which the application has initially received is now getting sent to the token endpoint. And let's see what all information we are getting in response. So as you can see, this frame contains the access token, and it will also contain a refresh token, because in the scope we have mentioned offline access as well. So as you can see, this is the refresh token which is also available for the application. Now what I'll do is I'll copy this value and we'll again go to jwt.io and we'll decrypt this token, and then we'll place it with comparison to the ID token which has been given to user, and let's see what are the difference in terms of claims. So now I'm going to copy this value which is moreover related to access token, and I'll come back to my notepad and I'll paste that value over here. Now as you can see that this token is intended for my application, and these are the scopes which my application can access on behalf of the user. As well as if you will see this section, preferred username is the attribute or claim value which is included in the user token or in the ID token. So as you can see, these are the two different tokens which are issued in Openid Connect, and in case of Openid Connect application, this ID token is also verified with the help of Azure AD, and that's why Openid Connect is an authentication protocol, whereas Auth 2.0 is an authorization protocol. So this was all about knowing how exactly a sample application works that uses Openid Connect as authentication protocol. So let's talk about a quick summary of what all we have discussed in this particular video. We have discussed about Openid Connect Authentication Flow with the help of a Fiddler Trace. We have discussed about different endpoints that can be used in v2.0 categories and v1.0 categories of endpoints. We also discussed about how the sample application works and what are the basic difference between access token and ID token. If you guys have learned something new, please feel free to subscribe. If you think this channel is helping you to learn more, please feel free to share this with your technical community. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.